Hello, and welcome to Abby Tyler's Healthy Living. My name is Abby Tyler. I'm your host, a family nurse practitioner, a health and wellness blogger, and a community volunteer. In here, we discuss evidence based health information regarding mind, body, and soul with a holistic emphasis. Thanks for joining me on this journey of health and wellness. Please enjoy the show. Hello, hello, hello. Happy Friday. Welcome to Abby Tyler's Healthy Living. My name is Abby Tyler. This is Friday Chat with Abby, where we discuss things a little bit less formal. And as you can see, the topic today is: do you struggle with dad guilt? Last week I did mom guilt, and I said dad do suffer from that I go to, not to the same extent. It's not a competition, but that, and I got a couple of boxes saying that, yeah, we do suffer from it too. And, as a married woman or even as a mom, you have your partner, your husband, they go through this as well. So I thought, why not talk about dad guilt too? Because if you talk about one, you have to talk to the other because, kids need both parents. So, without further ado, let's get into it. I would just put my glasses back on and get to my notes. I do need to share this to my other forum, but it's a little delay, so I can't do it right now. So let me just look in here. I'm making sure that I'm live. Please share the show. Okay, let me go in here. I can see that I'm live. So 1 second. Okay, and post. Okay, alrighty. So let's get back to my notes. Once again, my name is Abby Tyler, and as always, my disclaimer: whatever, I'm a provider, but I'm not your provider. So whatever I say here shouldn't take the place of you checking with your provider first. Do not make any changes to your regimen without checking with your own provider. Okay, so let's get into it. Do you suffer from dad guilt? Okay, so before I start, oh, happy autumn, happy autumn, happy autumn. Also called fall in America. I don't know too much, but the other places that celebrate changes this time of the year. But happy autumn. I love this time of the year where you get to wear all your different autumn colors, and then everything's kind of slow down. What they changed the weather kind of messes with my brain a little bit, but I'm getting used to it. Just I love for it to be warm all the time. But anyways, we would celebrate autumn with our nice brown and green and purple and colorful stuff and all that. So I hope you all enjoying the change of the season. And let's get into the show. So okay, so there's this song called Cats in the Cradle. I'm really dating myself. This song came out way before I even knew when it was out. I first heard it way back in the 90s. They used to play on this station in Philadelphia called B101. They play all these songs and they tell you it talks about it was by Harry Chapin. So for those Chapin or Chapin talks about how the father comes home every time and his son is asking him, can we go out? Can we do this? And then dad says, okay, yeah, when as soon as I get along to it, we'll do that. As soon as I come home from work, I will do that as soon as I come. And he goes on and on and on. He says that. And then at the end of it, he gets older, the son gets older, and the dad asks him, son, can we go hang out? And he's like, oh yeah, okay, we'll hang out as soon as I get the chance to do that as well. So it's like, oh, he realizes that his son had grown up just to be like him because the many times that he didn't have time to spend with his son. So, and that was that. Okay. And I'm from a generation where our parents, the fathers, were not not supposed to, or were not too really involved in our day-to-day activities. And my parents were divorced. So my father was, and I had a stepfather, and then I have my live with my aunt and uncle. So, but they weren't like involved in the day-to-day activities. They took you somewhere, maybe they went to church together or to family events together, but they weren't there like all the time. So in the past couple of decades, fathers have been very much more involved in their children's lives. Like they're at the school recital, they're there at the school games, they're there doing things, cooking. Some of them are stay-at-home dads, and they're doing everything, spending so much time with their family members. So and their children, and so things are, of course, there will be dad guilt now. So the things that women had to contend with, even though for statistically speaking, um prevailing view still says that women should be there with the kids and spend more time, even if you're working or you stay at home mom or whatever. You should be spending more time with your kids. So that's but that also suffer from dad guilt. So what is dad guilt? Okay, definition is an incredibly strong feeling where dads do not feel like they're doing enough for, to care for their child because they're so busy trying to financially provide for the family. As growing up as young boys and in a society tell you when you grow up, in order to you to be a good father, you have to be able to work hard and be able to provide for your kids, protect your family, provide for your kids financially. And so a lot of people feel that if I'm not working or if I'm not bringing enough money home, if I'm not doing this, that means I'm not really protecting my kids. Won't look up to me and say, okay, that's my dad. My dad's doing it. My dad's doing it. And they feel this sense of like, I get my worth. It's my worth, the same as me going out and taking care of my family. So all of that is factor into dad guilt. Okay, a 2017 survey by Today.com showed that 19% of dads feel guilty about not being present enough with their children, and 17% said they feel guilty about working too much. And it's like again goes back to how do you say, okay, am I supposed to work enough? Am I not working enough? Am I, most of the society, oh, you stay at home dad. That means you go in, you stay home while your wife is working, and you're not manly enough. And this whole thing with like the toxic masculinity too, all of that can come into play. All right. So Daniel B. Peters, who is like a psychologist, parenting has become an equal job for men. It seems there are high expectations to do multiple things with their time. Again, and so it's like we know that, it's like, yes, we know that women have been dealing with this for a very long time, but again, we're coming back to a new generation. So I spoke to a few dads about what are some of the examples that they felt that when they've experienced dad guilt. My husband, I know my husband and I we were young parents, and sometimes like one person had to work full time, the other person working part time, or were in school. So there are many things that he missed out on, and because it's like, okay, I was home, and most of the time it's like I was taking the kids to their doctor's appointment or he took them to, but I was like the birthday parties, the movies, and all these different things and all because we did it that way. So okay, when he's working, I'm doing that. When I'm working, he's doing that. And there were times when we did not want to have spending so much time at childcare because they were in school and then they were after school and then sometimes they had a babysitter. So there were times where we said, okay, this person would stay home, this person would take them to this place, this person would take them to that. So he missed out on all of that too because there were times that he had to work. And in America, when somebody one person carrying benefits, every that person has to work full time. So like he always thought, and when he sees this, I think it's a Humira commercial where he sees this little girl and her father like to go into the store and the way she walks, and he's so emotional when that commercial comes on because it reminds him. He's like, oh, I remember when our daughter was that little. I would love for her to be that little again where I could take her places and just, spend so much time with her. And, son, when my daughter was doing mine, it's like when she was younger, that's when we're really, really busy with work and school. So my son came along, we had a little bit more flexible time, but it was still the same thing too, because we were both still working full time. And as the same as many parents in America, you still have to work full time. So I talk about some of these dads and some of the example they said we should have spent more time with the kids, activities like different games. I don't know if they weren't working or and as parent as also for new dads when you have maternity leave, women can have 6 to 12 weeks of maternity leave. Albeit it's unpaid, so that means one parent has to be working, or if you save up enough for your personal time, you can have that. You can get out paying, but one parent has to work. So most dads or most fathers or men when they have a new baby, when a wife, they have a new baby, you and your partner, your wife, or they have a new baby, there's nobody that dad has to work. Maybe he has like 2 to 3 days off, and then he has to go back to work. So he's not there with the new mother. He's not spending time, and he's missing all the moments that they would never get back. So they complain about that. So it's like, okay, what about us? I'm not experiencing this baby as a newborn, bathing my baby, be able to wake up in the morning and just experience everything my wife is experiencing, and also be able to help her to be there for my wife because she may also be experiencing postpartum depression. And I'm over a year at work, but I have to work. So men go through that too. All right. And also they say, okay, spending time with the kids at different events. I know there were times where, again, with me and my husband, when we were back and forth, it was like, okay, the kids were not in any like sports, group sports. They went to piano and they went to different things, but it's like they're never going to experience being there because I was working there, he was working and all that. So it was like, I think when my son was about 10 years old, we're like, let's put them in something. Let's try to see if we can sacrifice, this weekend, or if I have somebody take them back and forth to go to the game, we'll pick them up. There were times that he was working even Wednesdays when I wanted kids to be there Wednesday at my church. and Wednesday, and I had to come back. I was working closer to church while where I work. It was closer to my job than to the. So when I'm coming home from there, and I have to rush, and it's like one time I remember one of the people who were at the church, and they said, this is not a babysitting service. We really expect you to be here on time to pick them up. And I said, I'm not doing this because I'm like having fun at work. There are times where I can't make it, and my husband couldn't make it to do that. After a while, we just say, what, forget it. If we can't get there on time, we're not going to be able to take them to church on Wednesday night. So that was a while that we have to stop until somebody else could take them. And my husband felt bad about that too. Okay, so and other that dads have to work overtime. A lot of dads, we find, they have to work overtime. Again, like I said, if one parent's working and the dad has to work, and when you work in somewhere where your employer doesn't see the fact that, okay, they know you're never, women have to get pregnant, and that's some of the things women get discriminated against too. They know you're going to get pregnant. They know you're going to be off like 3 months out of the year, depending on if you're like a younger person who's just starting your parenting life. There will be couple of years that way you're going to be off for a while. They see the men, and they don't see men have to take any time off. So it's like, okay, do we hire the man or do we hire the woman? And then as a man, when you take that job and that they know that you have to be always there and not having to take any time off, that can be, also troublesome. And for people who are doctors and men who are nurses and work in fields where it's like they're on call and they have to be, and they don't have strict hours, that also they to come back and say, okay, that makes me feel guilty too, because I didn't have to study. I couldn't go to my daughter's thing. I couldn't go to my son's program. I couldn't do this. I couldn't be there for like very important times of their life. I couldn't be there when they went to their doctors. I couldn't be there when they got bad news. I couldn't be there when somebody bullied them. They came home, they needed somebody to talk to, because when I went home, I was tired. Or when I came home, I was tired, or I just, sometimes I didn't feel like I was given any kind of the kind of thing they need, but I know I had to be there to be able to provide for my family. So all of that. Feel like they're close enough, and sometimes they feel like I feel guilty enough because the fact that the kids are so close to their mother because I'm not there, so they feel that. I mean, like again, like you said, as your young boy growing up, you're close to your mother, you're close to your parents, and you want to emulate that when you have children of your own. And sometimes, life, society just makes it a little more difficult to do that. And you talk about parents who, and when their child was born, before maybe they weren't great parents, maybe they weren't great fathers at the time, and they decided, okay, I'm going to go ahead now and try to be a good father when things are a little more settled between me and the mother. And they always harbor that guilt that I wasn't there for the first 4 years or 5 years or 10 years or whatever it is. So they always keep that then. So all of that, okay, and relationship with the mother, parents who travel for a living, parents who are in the army, and again, like I said, widowers too, because they have to work full time and they have the kids full time, single dads, all of that. They worry about the fact that they're not spending so much time with their that's it. Not it, ironic part is like when I was doing this topic and looking up the research and all that, there's not much research on dad guilt. It's there, but it's like really minimal. But you see a lot of mom guilt. Again, like I said, it's not a competition. It's because from time immemorial, women were expected to do all of this. And even if you went to work, you had to be super mom all the time. Dads were always given a break. But as time went by, when they start spending more time with the family and things start changing, that's when they start, getting guilt. Now, some people don't have any guilt because it's like, especially cultural stuff. So some places where even dads, young in their 30s and 40s, if they have a different culture where the culture doesn't say, yes, you have to spend time with your kids. You're not going to spend time with your kids. And you're not going to feel guilty because you're doing the best. You're working hard and you're taking care of your kids. That part of not being there for everything, it doesn't bother them. Sometimes it does because it's like the kids will tell you, yes, okay, we live in America. I know we from a different culture, but I see my friends out there and their parents are there watching their games and their parents are taking them to places and they're spending time at the waterfront and they're doing this and taking them out for ice cream and hanging out and going on vacations together. Why can't you do that? Why does it have to be like a cultural thing? Now, your kids may not say those things to you, but they're thinking it. Some of them will say it to you. Okay, so we'll get to where is this? Let me just make sure here. I will come here. So, what are some of the ways to to recognize it? The first thing is when you recognize it, that's the best part. It's like, okay, I know this is what's going on, and I need to. And it's a good thing because you start feeling guilty. You say, why am I feeling guilty about this? My father was in there, or maybe why am I feeling guilty about everything else? So this is how to wait. Sorry, to recognize it and how to overcome it. One second here. Okay. Okay. So some of the ways you can overcome it. Don't force perfection. Okay. Don't think that even if you're there for every recital, for every game, for every doctor's appointment, for every small talk, for everything, there will be days where it's going to fall through the cracks. There will be days where they really wanted you there and you couldn't make it, and you're just going to feel really bad because you couldn't make it. Don't force perfection. They're not expecting your kids are not expecting you to be a perfect dad. Okay, they're expecting you to do the best that you can. So don't try to force it, because after a while you go to somewhere and you'll be sitting there and you'll be watching a game or watching a movie, and you find yourself sleeping or looking somewhere else or doing so many different things because you just feel like, oh my God, I really have to be here. Excuse me. So don't force perfection, okay? Give it time, anytime. I mean, just do the best that you can. Again, give it time. Don't think that they're going to be in when they as you be there with them when they're younger, and as they're getting older in their teenage years, they're going to have to find friends or find other things, and they won't want to be hanging out with you because you're not cool enough. I don't care how cool you are. Your kids will always make you know that you're not that cool. They don't want to hang out with you. So just give it time, all right, and just do the best you can. When you're with them, try to put a phone away, so at least that way you're paying attention to them. Doesn't mean you can look at your phone for a while. And there's some people who do jobs where you have to have your phone present all the time. Okay, so you want to be able to just say, okay, I'm gonna just find time and hang around with them, this movie, and just do this, and then later on you can go back. Don't be sitting there and this like that, and they're doing stuff and you do it. Especially when you said, okay, let's go do stuff together. So don't just put them there. But now if they're on the playground and you just take time to look over your phone while looking at them, that's nothing. Nobody's the perfect parent. No mother's perfect. No father's perfect. So just take it one day at a time. Recognize also when you work, you're going to pick a job that is going to cause you to be away from your family. This is something that you're going to have to talk to your family about most of the time. Okay, saying there are times where I would be away. If we do traveling, like people who do traveling, salesmen or traveling and drug rep or whatever it is you do that has to send your way. People who are in the military, people who are, like I say, in the medical field, that you're not going to be there all the time. You're going to have to explain to your kids, because sometimes when you sit there, I used to watch Disney Channel with my kids and other children's show, and you sit there and you see people saying, oh, I wanted to go somewhere, my parents were not there and are busy working. Yes, we have this big mansion. Yes, we have this, we have the maids, we have the that, but I wanted my parents to be there. And these kids sit there and they take all that in, and you're saying and be like, no, we don't have the big mansion. No, we didn't have maids. No, we didn't have this. We're doing our own thing. That's different when they're spending so much time away from their family. If they're really rich people, and also I'm so really rich people have issues too. Okay, I'm working hard to make all this possible for you. So I'm sure they'll have issues too. But the average parent just working hard to make ends meet. And sometimes you work 7 to 3, depending what kind of position you're in, 7 to 3 or 3 to 11, 11 to 7. And there will be days you're not going to be home to sleep to put your kids to bed. You're not going to be able to read all their bedtime stories. You're not going to talk them in. It's not going to be this fairy tale that these TV shows and these movies project out there to you. You can only do what you can. Okay. There's some people who work 9 to 5 and they can put their kids to the bed every night. But then at the same time, you're not there during the week if you have to be there for certain things, like doing if they have something at school, or you have to go a parent teacher thing that happens during the day. So you just have to take it easy. And then there's parents who work 2 to 3 days a week and they spend some time there with their kids. So tell your kids, sit them down, say, this is the life that we have. Okay, there would be times where I would not be there. Explain it to them, and you would be surprised. They'll be like, okay, I understand that you can't be there all the time because of the kind of job you do. I mean, somebody has to be the doctor, somebody has to be the traveling salesman, somebody has to be, working in the army, somebody has to do those things. Everybody's just not just sitting home working 9 to 5. Some people have to work night shift. Some people have to work, like leave from, like you see some of the journalists, the one who come on at 6 o'clock in the morning or 3 o'clock in the morning, they have to go to bed like around 8 o'clock or 7 o'clock and be up at 3 o'clock in the morning. I'm sure they have children who they're not putting to bed or have to be there in the morning to take them to the bus. Okay. So we all go through that. All right. The way you can do that, talk to the employer if it's possible, try to work things out. Communication, again, like I said, communication is the most important thing. You want to sit there and communicate with your kids what's going on, and as they start getting older, you say, okay, let me know find out ahead of time what's going to go on. I can schedule that, I can take that time off. If it's not possible, can we do something else after that? I'm not always going to be there, and try to make them understand. Not just say I'm not going to be there and then just not be there all the time, but do let them, as long as they see you doing it. Again, it comes down to, as long as they see you doing the best you can and communicating. Don't just let them. They can't understand, especially when they're younger. And certain times when you don't communicate it to them, they're not going to understand that. Okay. I know some a couple of people said if it wasn't for the pandemic, which is, there's one of the sad part about it. But if it wasn't for the pandemic, somebody then said they would have never spent that much time with their children because they were always so busy working. And somebody who had babies during the pandemic, they were able to spend so much time with them. Luckily for them, they didn't work a kind of job that they had to go in. So they were able to work from home and still be able to spend time with their kids and spend like 3, 4 months, almost 3 years with their kids at home, and being able to be like, not stay at home dad, but like being home, working it from home, and be able to spend time with their kids. So in that way, that kind of helped. And to say if it wasn't for that, it will always be hi dad, bye dad, hi dad, and in little times here and there. Okay. Seek community help. Parenting is, it's a full-time job. Make sure you have a good support system. Don't hang out with friends who are going to make you feel guilty. The same thing I says to the mom for mom guilt. Don't hang out with friends who are going to make you feel guilty. Hang out with people who understand what you're doing. And you can say, okay, I have a babysitter, or, it's your stepfather, your godfather, my uncle, your big brother, somebody, try to be able to delegate some responsibilities to, and let them know that, okay, yes, dad can be there, but this other person is going to be there to help you. It can't always be dad. It can always be mom. These other people are there to help you, all part of a community. Okay. And if it gets to the point where it's bothering you so much, it's dogging you, and it's causing you a lot of grief and depression, of course, I want you to seek professional help. Okay, always do that. Talk to your primary care provider, and then they can refer you to mental health and get help with that. Talk to your church group. Talk to your synagogue group. Everything, everywhere else. It could be a religious group. It can be a community group. Talk to them, and it's like I say, it takes a village to raise a child. It's not just don't just become to where it's like a singular unit where it's just the mom, dad, and then the children. Okay, it could be like aunt, uncle, and other different things. And kids love to hang out with their cousins. Kids love to hang out with other people to be able to find friends and be able to do that. I know my son was like, my kids used to be happy when they go hang out with their cousins and hang out with their friends and do other things outside of the home. So it's not just a singular thing. I know we live in a community, in a society that says the singular parenthood where it's like mother and father and children. Yes, but you still have community engagements. Okay. And of course, bottom, like I said, and I always saw even the mother, gave yourself some grace. Show yourself some grace, show yourself some compassion. You're doing the best that you can. We are all trying to do the best that we can. And if you fell out from the beginning when you didn't have a relationship with your children, and you had a bad relationship with the mother, or whatever it is, whatever the issues were at the time that you lost on, not, and you missed out the first steps, you missed out of this, you missed out first year school, you missed out on that. Don't let it eat at you. You can only do the best that you can. Okay. So let that go. I know it's going to be a little hard. Let that go and then just move forward, which is the most important thing. Let it go and move forward. And eventually, I mean, things will fall into place. As long as they can see you doing the best that you can, things will fall into place. Okay. And again, like I said, seek community help, and then seek professional help, if especially if you're having communication issues with the mother, if you're not together, or you travel somewhere, or you work in army and things like it, because all those things, the high divorce rate when it comes to military people also. So talk about it. Okay. So all you fathers out there, do the best that you can. And for those of you who are doing the best that you can, you rock. For those of you who are working, like I said in my Father's Day message, for those of you who are falling back or fell back or not there from the beginning, and are trying the best and doing the best that you can, because just remember, there's no like there's no the articles out there, and there's no handbooks and all these different things. Don't fall for that trick that says, oh, when you read an article that says, oh, men are supposed to do this and father is supposed to do this, and this is what you're doing, and if you're not doing this, you're not doing the best that you can. You're not doing the best father. You're not doing no. You can only do the best that you can. Okay, we all, like, especially people in my generation and people generations, low couple of generations younger than me, who are younger fathers and all younger parents, is also new, because we're learning from, like, okay, well, fathers were not there because society didn't think that they had to be there one to day to day, but we're coming from a different place, and just do the best that you can. That's all you can do. All right. And yes, you would love to have so much money to be able to throw it at your kids and be able to spend so much time and take them to the most lavish vacations and do all of that. That is not possible, and it's not always possible, and it's not possible in your case. Those who can do it, hooray for them. But if that's not you, you can only do your best you can. Your kids will recognize and see you doing the best as you can, and really appreciate that. And that will go always also go a long way with having a healthy relationship with their mother. Okay. And so, like I said, just compassion, give yourself some grace, chill out, you know, If it means 1 hour here and there, quantity over quality over quantity, quality over quantity. It doesn't have to be every day, quality over quantity. Any kids remember that. Okay, so if you like this topic, please give me a thumbs up. Please share it on your page. Please share it in your group. And want to thank you all for joining. I am so trying to get at least 1,000. I'm just going to be, like by the end of this year, I want to have like 1,000 followers. So I'm still working on that. So if you all who are watching this, who are also members of this forum, if you can just invite other people to like the forum and share the videos, I really appreciate that. So for all of those of you who joined me tonight, I say thank you. For those of you who will be joining me, who will be watching this later, I say thank you as well. I wish you all a beautiful weekend. It's fall out there. The weather's a little crispy where I am right now. So be safe and thank you all for watching. And I will talk to you guys later. And you'll see me on, I'll see you guys on Tuesday at 7 o'clock for my regular Tuesday show. Okay, thank you all for watching. I really appreciate it. Thanks for your love and support. Good night.